the wildlife of elephants. As we all know, elephants are just huge. They're big and gray, and they have tusks. But there's more to these gentle giants than meets the eye. For example, did you know that an elephant's tusks are actually modified in size or teeth? Well, if you didn't know that, you're in for a treat, because today we're going to be talking about some other crazy facts about elephants and a few of their even crazier relatives. So let's get started. Elephants are arguably one of the most popular large mammals in the world, but they almost weren't. In 2019, the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora estimated that there were less than 40,000 African forest elephants left in the wild. That's a lot of elephants, sure, but compared to the roughly 20 million African elephants alive in the 1930s, it's not nearly as many. And it wasn't this way because people were like, hey, there are far too many elephants, so let's kill a bunch of them. Instead, it was a combination of poaching and habitat loss due to human development. However, thanks to conservation efforts, elephant populations have been slowly increasing in recent years. So maybe if we're lucky, we'll see their numbers return to what they once were. Now, the reason elephants are in such high demand is simple: ivory. Elephant tusks are made of the same thing as our fingernails and hair, keratin. The biggest recorded elephant tusk ever found weighed about 260 pounds. That's about as heavy as a walrus. If you want to hear another fun fact about tusks, you've come to the right place. While both male and female African bush elephants can have tusks, only male African forest elephants and Asian elephants have tusks. Female Asian elephants don't grow tusks, but some of their ancestors did. In fact, fossil evidence has shown that 200,000 years ago, Asian elephants had tusks that were nearly as long as those of modern African elephants. However, somewhere along the line, their tusks disappeared. Scientists aren't sure why this happened, but some speculate that it might have something to do with the evolution of their social structure. Or perhaps they were poached for their tusks, but by whom? Human hunting probably wasn't the culprit here, since humans didn't really start migrating into Asia until much later. So perhaps it was early hominids who hunted early Asian elephants for their tusks. Speaking of tusks, though, tusks aren't the only thing elephants use to eat. Elephants have the strongest bite force out of any land animal on the planet, but they didn't evolve to be apex predators. Instead, they use their powerful jaws and teeth to strip bark off of trees and devour the tasty insides. Even though elephants are herbivores, though they can be pretty deadly. Elephants are responsible for more deaths in Africa than any other animal except humans. This is mainly due to human-elephant conflict. As humans encroach farther into elephant territory, elephants are forced to travel farther in search of food and water, which puts them on a collision course with people. When elephants can't find enough food, they'll also trample crops, and sometimes people try to stop them from doing this, which often ends badly for the people. Humans aren't the only ones who view elephants as a delicacy, though. Sometimes elephants view us as a snack. Now, normally, adult elephants aren't in danger of being eaten by anything other than humans. But young calves are vulnerable to attacks from lions, leopards, and hyenas. To protect themselves, baby elephants will often hide behind their mother's legs. However, a new study suggests that they may also climb on top of their mothers' heads. Researchers at the University of Sussex analyzed video footage of elephants in zoos and national parks and found that calves would often climb on top of their mother's head when they felt threatened. They believe that climbing on their mom's noggin makes the babies less visible to predators, increasing their chances of survival. It appears that this behavior isn't instinctive, though, but instead is learned after seeing other elephants do it. This explains why calves born without a mother or in captivity don't exhibit the behavior. Scientists are still unsure how effective this strategy is against real predators. It seems to work well against pesky humans. However, there's one predator that even elephants need to look out for: the oxpecker. No, seriously. These little birds often hop on elephants and use their beaks to pick ticks and other parasites off of their skin. Elephants usually don't mind it, but it's not exactly a pleasant feeling if you're the tick. Oxpeckers are so good at what they do, they're basically nature's built-in elephant spa day. And elephants know this, which is why they seek out oxpeckers when they need a good cleaning. However, not all birds are as friendly. Take, for instance, the palm cockatoo, a bird that lives in the forests of New Guinea and northern Australia. Palm cockatoos live on a diet of tree sap, fruit, and nuts. But they don't crack open nuts on their own. Instead, they steal the hard-earned snacks of other animals. Palm cockatoos will follow elephants around, waiting for them to crack open a nut. Once an elephant does the hard work for them, the birds will sneak over and grab the nut before running away with it. Then they'll either eat it themselves or cache it for later. And elephants aren't the only animals whose hard work palm cockatoos will steal. They'll do the same thing with tree kangaroos. However, stealing isn't always easy. Sometimes the owner of the nut sees the thief coming and throws the nut at them, which is why it pays to be quick on your feet. Some palm cockatoos have even been documented using tools to get at the nuts they desire. One bird named Fig was filmed using a stick to hook nuts out of crevices in trees. Sticks aren't the only tools palm cockatoos will use, though. In some cases, they've been known to use spears. Spears as in pointy wooden objects used by humans to hunt animals and defend themselves. But these aren't normal spears. Instead, they're more like small clubs with a sharp stick on the end. They're not quite at the spear-chucking level of the center point, but they're getting there. While we don't know exactly how they figured out how to make and use spears, we do know that they got the idea from us humans. Palm cockatoos don't live far from areas where humans use similar spears to harvest honey, and they likely modeled their own spears after ours. If you thought Homo sapiens were the only ones capable of using tools, think again. It turns out that other species have been using tools for much longer than we have. And speaking of long, have you ever wondered how long an elephant could live if it stopped being poached? While no one knows for sure, we do know that they can live up to 70 years old in captivity. However, poachers have a nasty habit of cutting their lives short. There are lots of reasons poachers kill elephants, but one of the main reasons is to prevent the elephant from escaping. Poachers often target the older members of an elephant herd because they're less likely to move away from the area. This means that the poachers don't waste time and energy trying to track down the rest of the herd, making them easier to catch. While elephants are some of the largest animals alive today, they weren't always that way. In fact, their ancestors were tiny, barely bigger than mice. The smallest modern elephant is the African pygmy elephant, which stands at just 2.3 to 2.7 meters tall, while the tallest elephant can grow up to 3.3 meters. Tall, that's a lot of growing, but size isn't everything. Take the woolly mammoth, for instance. Woolly mammoths were once the size of African bush elephants, but shrunk down to the size of African forest elephants. Despite being smaller, they managed to survive multiple ice ages. In fact, they lived until about 10,000 years ago, when humans hunted them to extinction. Unfortunately, the dodo bird wasn't the only giant mammal to go extinct due to human activity. The Arabian oryx was once widespread throughout North Africa, the Middle East, and Central Asia. However, overhunting and habitat loss led to its extinction in the wild. While it went extinct in the Middle East and Africa, a few survived in Central Asia, and humans brought some of these into captivity. Over time, selective breeding in captivity caused the oryx to become gigantic, weighing up to 2,200 pounds and standing 6.6 feet tall. However, not everyone was happy with these giant oryx. In 2006, the Supreme Court of Oman ruled that owning an Arabian oryx was illegal unless you had special permission. This was partly due to the oryx's size, but mostly because they were escape artists. Whenever these oryx felt threatened, they would panic and run away, which isn't easy to do when you weigh more than an SUV, but they managed to do it anyway. After several incidents of panicked oryx escaping and causing traffic jams, the court decided that enough was enough. But while Arabian oryx are extinct in the wild, there is hope for other giant mammals. Thanks to extinction efforts, the passenger pigeon, which went extinct in the 1900s, may be making a comeback sometime this decade. And that's not the only animal that might be making a comeback. Scientists have cloned a woolly mammoth stepwise, a species of horse that went extinct about 4,000 years ago. Now, we might be able to bring back extinct animals, but there's no chance we could bring back dinosaurs. Unless, of course, you ask paleontologist Dr. Wendy Ceratops. You heard that right. Someone wants to bring back the dino. We're not talking about Jurassic Park style. Instead, she wants to use CRISPR technology to edit genes in modern birds and bring back certain dinosaur traits. She's already done this with chickens, giving them snouts instead of beaks. However, her dream project is to bring back feathered dinosaurs. Who knows? Maybe someday soon you'll be able to take a stroll through the mall without having to worry about a velociraptor jumping out of the bushes and attacking you. Just make sure to watch your step, because it could also be a stegosaurus. Click here to watch one of these next videos and learn about more wild animals.